Okay, welcome. Today we're gonna explain how all of the different EMDR tasks work. So as a therapist, I log in. I will start my EMDR session and I will do that by connecting and sharing a link. So I will share this link with my client, I copy it and I can send it to my client. Or for this demo, I open a new window and I go to that link. This is what the client sees. Visual task, audio task, and proceed. So now this is the client view and we're already connected. So if you want to try this out as yourself as a clinician, open the client view on your own computer, like I have now, and play around with the controls. So how this works. With the visual task, the audio task, and the distraction task on the left side, you can collapse and open the different settings by clicking on them. So starting with the background, you can change the background as you like to make it more child-friendly or to make it a bit more personal. And today we're going to explain the visual, audio, and distraction task. So the visual task is the first task where you can toggle the task on and off by switching on and off. So if you want to use the visual ball, you have to toggle it on. You can set it on manual or on adaptive. On manual, the ball speed will not be changed. You can set it at a certain speed. If you put it on the adaptive AI part, it will change based on the real-time performance of your client. And we're going to explain that later. So let's start with manual ball speed, make it go horizontal, and the ball will go from left to right. So I'll switch to the client, and as you see, the ball goes from left to right. Now I hear the arrow buzzer. Because I'm not responding, I can toggle that buzzer on and off here. So I'll toggle the buzzer off. So now I only see a ball from left to right, and I'm following it with my eyes. Cool, I'm gonna pause it. I can change the ball speed with this slider, so let's show that as well. Now it goes faster and faster based on what I prefer or what the client prefers. And I can make it also go random, so the ball now goes in all different directions. Make that go faster as well, so the movement patterns I will change. I can also change the ball color, green, red, yellow, or any other color. So I will press this color changing icon or this one to make it go random. So now it changes every few seconds and I can change that changing speed as well as a clinician. Cool, so let's pause it. Now let's put it on the adaptive AI part, and I think this is the interesting part. We have developed a system, a well-researched algorithm that's measuring the real-time performance of a client, and based on the performance it will make the level of taxation more personal and will intensify or decrease the ball speed based on real-time data. So I put it on adaptive. It normally starts at 25%. I will make it go random and then I press start task. So now the ball will go into my screen, left, right, up, down, and every time the ball changes from a ball into a cylinder. Every time it changes from the ball in the cylinder, I press the arrow key down on my keyboard. I do that for a few seconds, and every time I do that, the ball will go faster and faster because I'm doing it really well. So the level of taxation changes and differs from person to person. So some people, maybe children or some gamers or other type of clients, can have a really high level of taxation, while others need a bit less taxation to have an optimal treatment outcome. So this algorithm searches that optimal sweet spot for you. So you as a clinician have time to make notes, to focus on the client, to see what's happening. So it will help and work for you as a clinician. And you would probably see that it will help you get most out of your EMDR session and that the SUT drops really efficient with this system. Okay, so let's pause it. So I was making some faults, some errors here. I was pressing late. So the ball speed, it started at 25%. It went up until 34 without me doing anything as a therapist. So the algorithm did that, and this will go up and up until the point that it's almost too much. Then we're gonna make errors and then it will slow down a bit. And it's hovering around a certain sweet spot that that's making treatment as optimal as it can. As I would say, it will make desensitization as optimal as it can based on personal information. This slider correlates with this ball speed slider, and if I'm pressing the start task and my client will respond, I can watch this visual task flickering, so blue, red, yellow, green and gray, and based on what my client does, it will slow down and it will indicate why it slows down, because red means there's no click detected because I'm not doing anything. So now the program will slow down and I would see that. So those indicators here, the flashing colors, mean a lot for you as a clinician. It tells you how well your client is doing. It can be an indicator if maybe a person is dissociating. It can be an indication that some person is getting emotional, or in the beginning of a session that they don't understand the different tasks. So please watch this flickering. It gives you a lot of information. We also have that explained here in the tips part besides the notes. So the tips part is a tips document my colleague prepared with explanation on the working memory task, using exposure, but also what to do when seeing red and what to do when seeing blue. So read that as a clinician as well. If I add not only the visual but also the audio, I go to the audio, I toggle it on. Let's make sure I have my volume on. So now I have the visual task on and the audio task, and now there will be a ball moving into my screen, but also an audio tone. So what I do when I see the visual, the ball, changing from a ball into a cylinder, I press the arrow key down. Every time I hear the audio tone, I press the space bar. So I'm doing right hand visual, left hand space bar. On iPad or computer or iPad on phone, you use the touchscreen buttons on your screen. So on computer, it's the arrow key down for the visual, it's the space bar for the audio tone. On iPad, touchscreen on the right side, touchscreen on the left side, there's buttons. You will figure that out. So I have the audio on, visual on, and I'm gonna play it. So I hear the audio tone, I press the space bar. I see the ball changing to the cylinder, I press the arrow key. So let's do this for a minute and you would see that the ball goes faster and faster. And it becomes more difficult for me to handle. So now I'm doing this without, of course, an image or a memory in my head, but normally in a session the client is thinking of a certain situation. That makes it even harder. So I'll pause it here. So the ball speed is now at 42, so it went up again. So this will go up and down based on my performance, and as a clinician I can measure here. We really like the adaptive AI part. We get a lot of feedback that the SUT drops really efficient. Out of one of the latest studies here in Europe, we show that it's much more efficient than the light bar. So if you would compare it, you would probably see that the SUT drops fast, but we would love to get your feedback on that. So please try this out in your own session to see the benefits of the AI. And last but not least, with the distraction sound, is the third task, active task, that you can toggle on and off as well, where we let there be a clicking sound for the client. So there's an audio tone, the audio tone where you have to react on with the spacebar, but there's also a clicking sound that's distracting the client. The client doesn't have to respond on it, but it's just distracting them. So we have the visual task, we have the audio task, and we have the distracting clicking sound. So I will toggle that on or off. It's constant or random, let's say random. And now I'm pausing my task again. Makes it even harder. You get the idea. Okay, to wrap it up with the distraction, the audio and the visual, we forgot one thing about the visual. That could be a fourth task in our system. So you could do the ball color, or the ball changing from a ball into a cylinder. You could do the audio sound and you could do the audio clicks. But you can add a fourth. That's the random ball color changing. And what you can do, you can ask your client to also tell you the color of the ball. So there will be red, blue, green. So you're doing all those tasks combined to get a really high level of working memory taxation or dual attention stimulation to get most out of your session. So let's try that as well. So it's green, gray, purple, pink. This is too hard for me as a client, but you would see that there are some clients with a really high working memory capacity that need this. So play around with it. We have two options. One is with more straightforward colors, red, blue, green, and one with harder colors like between blue and gray, and there's fancy names for that. So that's really hard because you don't know exactly sometimes what the color is. So play around with it. We love it, but it's up to you as a clinician to use this. So those are all the active tasks that you can use in our WeMind system.